purpose of the Level 1 training demonstration video is to provide faculty with training on the basic functions of IvyLearn. By the end of this training, you will learn how to access IvyLearn and navigate the system. You'll learn some basic tool functionality, and you'll also learn how to post your course syllabus. The first thing we're going to look at is how to access IvyLearn. When accessing IvyLearn, we recommend using Google Chrome as your web browser. The easiest way to access IvyLearn is to go to the site directly. You can do this by typing in your web browser address bar ivylearn.ivytech.edu. Once you've reached the IvyLearn login page, log in with your IvyTech username and password. The next thing we're going to look at is the IvyLearn Global Navigation, which you'll also hear referred to as the IvyLearn Navigation Bar. The IvyLearn Global Navigation Bar appears on the left side of the screen in IvyLearn. The first icon is the account icon. When you click on the account icon, it brings up the account menu. At the top, you'll see your profile picture, your name, and the logout button. Down below, you'll see links for your profile, settings, notifications, files, and e-portfolios. We'll talk about the first 4 items in this video. The first link is Profile. We click on that link, it will bring us to our profile page. Per the new ASOM policy, all users must set up their IvyLearn profile, providing a picture and a brief biography. Mouse over the profile image and click on the pencil icon. You can upload a picture or take a picture using a webcam. To upload a picture, click Choose a Picture, locate the picture you'd like to use, and click Open. Anything within the circle will become part of your profile picture, so you can resize that circle or move it around. When you're finished, click Save. To edit your profile, click the Edit Profile button. From that screen, you can add your biography and any links you would like to share. When you've finished entering your profile, scroll down and click Save Profile. The next section we're going to look at is Settings. Under the Ways to Contact header in the upper right-hand side, the email address section will automatically be populated with your IvyTech email address. You may add an additional address if you wish to receive notifications through a different email account. To enable text notifications, click on the Contact Method link under Other Contacts. Note that you will not automatically receive text notifications. You will set your desired notification preferences on the notification screen. You may also link your IvyLearn profile to social media tools like Twitter and LinkedIn. Next, we're going to look at notifications. When you reach the notification screen, you will see the privacy notice. Click OK to accept the notice. After setting up Ways to Contact, you can set up your notifications. Note that there will be a separate column to set notification preferences for each contact type registered in the settings screen. You may set IvyLearn to notify you of each type of course activity immediately, daily, weekly, or you may opt out of being notified of the activity. In the column, you will set your desired notification preferences for each type of course activity. The next thing we're going to look at is the Files section. In IvyLearn, you have personal file storage availability for up to 500 megabytes. Additionally, you will have 500 megabytes of file storage available in each course. The next thing we're going to look at is the IvyLearn dashboard. The IvyLearn dashboard allows us to display up to 20 courses at a time. Each course is displayed as a course card. Course cards can be customized by clicking on the Edit button in the upper right corner of each course card. We can give our course a shortened nickname, or we can change the color of the course card background. Click Apply. Note that any changes we make on that screen are visible only to us and not to our students. Images can also be added for course cards, but that must be done from inside the course, so we'll cover that later in the training. In the upper right corner of our dashboard, you'll see what is called the Global Activity Stream Toggle switch. You can toggle between displaying your course cards as tiles and displaying a list of recent activity. Inside the recent activity stream, you can click on the Show More link to show more details about all of the recent activities recorded. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a number of different items. The first one is the to-do list, which shows a list of the assignments that have been submitted by students and need to be graded. Items in the to-do list will disappear after those assignments have been graded. This list will display up to 10 items at a time. If there are more than 10 items, you'll see a link below that will allow you to display additional items. Coming up shows any upcoming items based upon due dates entered in all of the courses in which you are an instructor. This will display up to 7 days into the future. Below that is recent feedback. In IvyLearn, not only can instructors give students feedback on their assignments, but students can reply to that feedback with their own feedback. This feedback will be displayed here. Down below, you'll see the View Grades button. Click on that button, and you'll see the average score in all of the courses that you're teaching. You can click on the Student Interactions report to view a summary of student performance and interaction. The next thing we're going to look at is the Courses icon on the IvyLearn navigation menu. When you click on the Courses icon, a menu appears. This will show a list of all of the courses for the current term that have been published. You can also click on the All Courses link, which shows a list of all of your courses, both unpublished and courses from prior terms. You can tell at a glance which courses are favorited by the star icon to the left of the course name. If the star is an empty outline, the course has not been favorited. Click on the star to add the course to your favorites. Any course that has not been published cannot be added to your favorites. Click on the star icon to add or remove the course from your favorites. Once you have more than 20 courses in IvyLearn, any course that has not been favorited will not appear on your dashboard. Now we're going to take a look at the IvyLearn calendar. Access the calendar by clicking on the calendar icon in the IvyLearn navigation bar. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a list of calendars. Click on the box to the left of the calendar to turn that calendar on or off. Calendars automatically populate with events and assessments that are created in corresponding groups or courses. You can also manually add events or assignments by clicking on the plus icon in the upper right-hand corner above the calendar. You can add a title, a date, and a time as well as a location, and select any one of the calendars that appear in the drop-down menu. You can also create assignments. Again, you can add the title, due date, you can select the calendar you want that to be added to, and you can also select the group. You also have the option to publish or not publish that assignment. When an assignment is added, whether it's published or not, it will be added to the course, but even if it's published, it will still need to be linked to a module in order for the students to be able to access it. Click the More Options button to be taken directly into the Assignments section of the course that was selected in the drop-down menu. You can change due dates by dragging and dropping assignment items. You can do this only for items in courses in which you are enrolled as a teacher. You can change the color of each calendar by clicking on the 3 dots that appear to the right of the calendar title. Note that, like changing the color for our course cards, this only changes the color of the calendar for your display. The students will each set their own calendar colors. In the lower right corner, you'll see a calendar feed link. Clicking on that link will give you an iCal link, which will allow you to link your IvyLearn calendar to your Outlook or Google calendars. The next tool we're going to look at is the inbox. One important thing to note before we look at the inbox is that messages in the IvyLearn inbox are called conversations. Access the inbox by clicking on the inbox icon in the IvyLearn navigation bar. The layout of the inbox resembles an email account with a summary of conversations in a column on the left, and the right side available for a full view of any selected conversation. Like a regular email account, any conversations you receive will be delivered to the inbox, and any conversations that you send will be stored in a sent folder. Conversations can be filtered using the drop-down menus at the top, the first one filtering conversations by course, and the second one filtering conversations based upon their status, such as unread or sent. To read your new conversations, click on the conversation. To reply, you can click the reply button. By clicking on the gear icon to the left of the reply button, you can also reply all, forward, or delete the conversation. These same functions can be performed using the icons at the top of the screen. Please note that on smaller screens, these icons may be moved to the right side and display underneath the drop-down menus. Use the Compose button to create a new conversation. You'll first select the course. Selecting the course will populate the address book with the contact information of instructors and students enrolled in that course. They're separated by role, teachers and students, and you can also email everyone who's enrolled in the course. Select the user you would like to send the conversation to, and enter a subject for your conversation. If you're sending the conversation to multiple people, for example, if you're sending a conversation to every single one of the students that are enrolled in your course, you have the option of sending an individual message to each recipient. This is helpful if you don't want the responses to be sent to everyone who is included on the original conversation. Then enter your conversation into the text box below. When you're replying, the original conversation will appear below the text box. You may also click the Add an Attachment button to include an attachment with your conversation. The Record button allows you to add a recorded video or audio comment. When finished, click Send. We recommend keeping all of your course communications throughout the semester, but if you decide you'd like to delete a conversation, you can click the Delete icon. One of the most important areas in the system is the Help area, so that's the area that we're going to take a look at next. When you click on the Help icon in the IvyLearn navigation menu, a Help menu will appear. There are a number of useful links on here. We're going to take a look at the IvyLearn Student Resource Center first. It opens up in a new window, so if you have a pop-up blocker installed, you'll need to set an exception for IvyLearn. There are a number of resources here. This is currently under construction, so there will be more helpful links here as time goes on. If your students have questions, this is a great place to send them for more information. The second item is the IvyLearn Resource Center. This is geared towards faculty and staff who use IvyLearn. This also opens in a new window, and it goes out to the Canvas community. The IvyLearn Resource Center is a private group within the Canvas community that's available only to Ivy Tech faculty and staff. When you arrive at this page, scroll through the activities and check out the helpful links along the right-hand side of the screen. Also click on the Content link in the toolbar. This area contains discussions, documents, and videos. You can also click on the Home link along the top of the screen to go to the public Canvas community. There are a number of different things you can do here, including searching for help documents. Another really nice thing about IvyLearn is that you can make feature requests. If there's some particular feature or tool that you would like to see in IvyLearn, you can come to the Canvas community, click on the Share Ideas button. The first thing you should do is search to see if the feature that you'd like to see in IvyLearn has already been submitted by someone else. If so, you can vote for it. If not, you can scroll down, and on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a Share New Idea button. Please note that it's very important to search first to see if your feature has already been requested. A feature request has to have 100 votes before Canvas will look at it. If you post a duplicate feature request, then that will divide the votes between the two requests and make it more difficult for your feature to get the necessary 100 votes. So be sure that you do a search first and make sure that your feature hasn't already been requested by someone else. The next item in the list is the help desk information. You can also click on the link below to begin submitting an Ivy Tech Help Desk ticket. The next item is to search the Canvas guides, which you can also do from the IvyLearn Resource Center as well. There's also a link to My Ivy. There's a link to ask your instructor a question. There's also a link to the IvyLearn launch information, and there's a library link here also, which is a link to the virtual library. When you click that link, it will open in another tab as well. So again, you'll need to make sure that you have pop-up blockers disabled or have an exception set for IvyLearn. You'll need to click on your campus once you get here, and that will give you links to all of your online catalogs, LibGuides, and a lot of other really useful information. Now that we've learned a little bit about the basic function and layout of IvyLearn as a system, we're going to take a look at a practice course. We're going to do a couple of different things, including adding a syllabus. We're also going to take a look at some basic tool functionality and course layout. One thing to remember when we're going through our courses is that anything that's unpublished is not going to be visible to students. Even if the course itself is published, pages and modules must still be published as well. So be sure to check the status of any course materials as you're creating them. We're going to click on our course card to access our course. By default, you're going to be taken to the home area. What displays in the home area is determined in the Pages section, and we'll take a look at that in a moment as well. Per Ivy Tech policy, every single course, whether online or face-to-face, is required to have a syllabus online in the learning management system. So the first thing that we're going to take a look at is the syllabus area. If you're teaching an online class, you'll already have a course syllabus template. If you're teaching a face-to-face class, you may or may not have any content here when you first access the course. To begin editing, go to the upper right corner of our course syllabus area and click the Edit button. If you're teaching face-to-face, you have two options for adding your syllabus. You can upload a printable file, or you can paste your syllabus directly into the syllabus area. All of the online courses have the syllabus pasted directly into that area, and you'll just edit the information as needed. Let's take a look at what this will look like if we're adding a printable syllabus file to our course. The first thing you want to do is put your cursor where you want that syllabus file link to go. If you have the printable file on your computer, you can just go over to the right here, click on the Files tab, so we can scroll down and click the Upload a New File link. Note that if you have a smaller screen size, this toolbar may be moved to the bottom of the screen, and then you would have to scroll down to the bottom to access that. So let's click this Upload a New File link, and we'll click the Choose File button, locate our syllabus file, and click Open. Next, we need to go down. We can select a folder if we want to place the file into a folder, but we'll just leave that as the default and click the Upload button. This will then place the syllabus document into this syllabus text editor, and you'll see it went to the location where the cursor was. Your other option is to just copy and paste the information directly into the text editor. In this example, we already have some content here. This is an online course shell. So all that we need to do is go in and edit our instructor information. And you'll also need to include your instructor supervisor information. If you're teaching a statewide online course, you'll need to add your Ivy Tech online learning support information for your campus here as well. You'll also need to scroll down to the attendance drop deadline and last date of withdrawal, which are about halfway down the screen. And you'll need to enter the dates here and also a little bit farther down under last day to withdraw. The online learning support information and the dates will be provided for you on the Getting Started checklist on the IDC website, so be sure to check your email for that information. When you're finished editing your syllabus, click the Update Syllabus button. Assignments and assessments that have been created in the course will automatically appear in the course summary below the syllabus. Whatever assignments and assessments have been assigned a due date will appear at the top in the order in which they're due, and they'll also automatically appear on the calendar for the course as well. The first thing we're going to look at is pages. Pages are the building blocks of our courses in IvyLearn. To access pages, click on the Pages link in the course navigation menu. This link will be grayed out because it is not available to students. However, the teacher role allows you to access all of the areas in the navigation bar that are grayed out. When you click on Pages, you'll automatically be taken to whichever page has been assigned as the front page. This is also the page that automatically appears in the Home area. Click the View All Pages button in the upper left-hand corner here to access all of the pages in the course. The pages are listed here alphabetically, so we recommend labeling the pages beginning with M followed by the number of the module, for example M01. This will cause your pages to automatically order themselves logically and make it easier to find your pages later on. If you want to create a new page, you can click on the plus page button in the upper right hand corner. Note that there is another area from which pages can be created, and we'll take a look at that shortly. In a page, you can add text, and you can also use the buttons in the toolbar on the right hand side to add links. These links can be links to other pages within the course. They can be links to assignments. You can add links to modules or different areas in the course navigation bar. In the Files tab, you can add links to files that are already loaded into the course, or as we did with the syllabus, we can click on the Upload New File link and upload a new file to our course. One huge benefit to this is that we can link a single file in multiple places within our course, and then if we update that file, those updates will automatically appear in every location where that file has been linked. The next tab here is Images. It works very similar to the Files tab. We can also click on Upload a New Image to add a new image to our course. Let's give our page a title. We'll put some text here, and we'll add a file link as well. When you're finished, you can click the drop-down box and select who may edit this page. You can set it so that only teachers can edit, or teachers and students, or anyone. At the bottom are several buttons. You can click Cancel to get out of this screen. That will throw away any changes or edits or creation you have done. You can also save the page, which will save the page but not publish it, meaning you can come back to it and edit it later, but the students won't be able to see it. You can also click Save and Publish, which both saves and publishes the file, but note that even if you save and publish a page, the students don't have access to the pages area of the course, so we'll still have to link this page inside a module before the students will be able to access it, and we'll take a look at that in a moment as well. So let's click Save and Publish. We'll see our test page as it will appear when the students view it, and if we click on View All Pages, we can go back to our full list, scroll to the very bottom, and we'll see M17 test page. We'll also see the information here about when it was created and when it was last edited. We can also click on our gear icon here. If I want to delete this page, I can do that. If I want to change this to be the front page, meaning the page that students see when they come into the home area for the first time when they access the course, I can set that as the front page. I can also click Edit and make any changes that I want to that page. The other thing I can do is click on the little cloud icon here to unpublish or publish my page after it has been created. IvyLearn uses modules to organize courses. The great thing about modules is that this frees us from the constraints of the associations between class sessions and weeks within a course, and it allows us to be more flexible in our course schedules. Modules is the area where students will access all of the course content housed within IvyLearn. So let's click on the modules link here. You can create a new module by clicking on the plus module button. Let's give our module a name. In IvyLearn, you can also add prerequisites to your modules, and you can also control when the module becomes available to students through the calendar option as well. We'll leave this one open and click Add Module. Content can be added within a module by clicking on the plus icon. There are a number of different types of items that you can add: assignments, quizzes, files. Here we see pages labeled as content page. You can also add discussions or external URLs. The first thing we're going to look at is assignments. The important thing to know about assignments is that assignments are what create columns in the Grade Center. So in order for us to add a column to our Grade Center, we have to create an assignment. We can't create columns in the Grade Center manually. We have two options here. We can link to an existing assignment, or we can select New Assignment and create a new assignment. Let's enter a name for the assignment. Again, we're beginning the name of this assignment with M17 so that when we go into our assignments area, we know exactly where that assignment belongs. So let's click Add Item. And that adds our new assignment item to the bottom of the module. So if we had other items within this module, the M17 assignment item would appear below those. By default, that assignment is unpublished. So we can leave it that way if we want to until we're finished editing it and setting the assignment up the way we want it. Or we can go ahead and publish that so the students can begin looking at it. We can also click on the icon directly to the left of the assignment title, and we can drag that assignment to another location if we wish. So we just created this assignment, but we didn't set it up. We haven't set instructions, we haven't given it a number of points possible. So let's click on the assignment title so we can begin editing the assignment. With any assignment, you'll be able to see whatever has been entered into the text editor, followed by a summary of the assignment settings and any due dates or other information down below. There's also an area here where we can add a rubric. So we haven't set up this assignment yet. Let's click the Edit button and add some details. From this edit screen, I can change the name of the assignment if I want. Let's change that to Test Assignment. And I can also enter any instructions here as well. When we scroll down below, we'll see a text field for the number of points possible for the assignment. Assignments is the default group when you create an assignment, but you can click that drop-down box and you can select a different assignment group, or you can create a new assignment group. Assignment groups are not terribly necessary unless your course uses weighted grades, in which case they're definitely very important. You can also change the way the grade displays. By default, it's points, but that can be changed if needed. One of the options is not graded, which can be used for practice assignments. That way students can submit an assignment, they can get a grade, but it's not counted as part of their overall grade for the course. Likewise, if the assignment should not count towards their grade, if you want it to just serve as a practice assignment, you can check the box here to not include that assignment in your final grade calculations. The next option is submission type. No submission is the default. That can be used if you are creating an assignment that students will be turning in class. You can also select on paper for that as well. Those will both create a grade column in the grades area, but not require students to submit the assignment via IvyLearn. We'll use online for this. The next step for online entry options is that we can select what types of submissions we'll accept. let's select text entry and file uploads. One of the things that we can do when accepting file uploads is we can restrict the upload file types by putting in a list of our accepted extensions. The nice thing about that is it allows the students to get a message beforehand if they're about ready to submit a file type that you're not going to be able to open when you go to grade assignments. At the bottom of the screen, you'll see a small box here called Assign. This allows us to determine who is expected to submit the assignment. By default, it's everyone, but I can create an assignment just for specific people within the course. I can also set my due date here and my availability dates. So let's click on the calendar option here, and I want this assignment to be due on Friday, April 21st. I can select that date. By default, the time is 11:59 p.m. I can change that using these boxes here and then click Done, or I can just click Done and I can manually change those dates and times within this text box here. I can do the same thing with my availability dates as well. There are several other assignment options here that we'll cover in later trainings. When you're finished, you can either click Save or you can click Save and Publish. On the following screen, we can see that our assignment has been published. We can click that button to unpublish the assignment. We can review the assignment instructions and all of the assignment settings, and we can click the rubric button if we'd like here to add a rubric to this assignment. And that's something that we'll cover in further training. The next part of the course that we're going to look at is grades. The first thing that you'll notice when you get into the grade screen is that our course navigation menu has disappeared. In order to toggle that on and off, we just click on this icon here directly to the left of the course name at the top of the screen, and that will return that navigation menu to its default location. You'll see in this screen a list of all of the students that are enrolled in your course, and you'll also see a summary of their assignment submissions. The first thing we're going to take a look at is a discussion that has been submitted by the students in the course. So let's go to Dory Test Student here. When you mouse over that cell in the grades area, you'll see a little caret in the upper right hand corner of that cell. We'll just click on that. For discussions, we don't get very much information in this screen. All we see is when the student submitted their initial post. So we can click on the More Details in the SpeedGrader link. That opens the discussion board grading screen in a separate window. So you'll want to make sure again that you have pop-up blockers either disabled or set an exception for IvyLearn. Across the top of the SpeedGrader screen, you'll see the name of the assignment due date, and the course that we're in. There's also a link here that shows that 1 out of the 4 students enrolled in the course has had their assignment graded. So far the average score is 2 out of 20, which is 10%, so our students aren't doing so hot right now. And then we see a 4 out of 4 students. That means that all 4 of the students who are currently enrolled in the course have submitted an assignment. To the right of that will be the student's name. That's a drop-down menu, so we can click on that and use that to navigate between students. There's also arrows to the left and right that will allow us to navigate directly to the next or previous student in that list. In the main area of the screen here on the left will be all of the discussion posts that have been made by that student. So we see there's an initial post here and then a response post below. So we can go over to the right-hand side. We see that the student submitted on March 30th, which was before the due date. If the student submitted late, that information would appear below. So we'll give that student a grade. We can also add comments in the assignment comments box below. We can also add a file attachment by clicking the File Attachment button. In the Media comment button next to it allows us to add a video or audio comment for our student. When you're finished, click Submit. Our comment will appear here and the student will be able to see that when they log into their grades. And we can use our drop-down menu here to navigate to the next student. We see that this student submitted on April 5th. Their assignment submission was late. In our test course here, our policy is that we do not accept late work, so we can enter a 0 for that student here. And then we can add a comment. And when we're finished, we can click Submit. In order to return to the Grade Center, we can just close out that window and that will return us to the full Grade Center. Now we'll see that we graded Dory Test Students Introduction Discussion here, but we still see that grade bubble. In order for that to populate, we have to click Refresh, and then that student score will display there. Now let's take a look at an assignment item, because that grading process looks a little bit different. So when we mouse over that cell in the Grade Center, again we see the little caret in the upper right hand corner of that cell. So let's click on that, and that takes us into the grade screen, which looks a little bit like the screen that we saw when we graded the discussion board, but it's got a little bit more information. We see the date that they submitted. However, here we also see files that they submitted, and we see a comment that the student posted when they submitted their assignment. So I can use this screen here to open the submitted file, grade the assignment, and manually enter the score. Or I can click on the More Details in the Speed Grader link, and again that opens a new window, so we want to make sure our pop-up blockers are turned off. This looks very similar to what we saw before, with our assignment name and due date along the top here going from left to right, followed by a 1 out of 4 graded, which means we have 4 students in our course and only one of them has had their assignment graded so far. The average score is 10 out of 20, which is a 50%. And we also, to the right of that, see 3 out of 4 student, which means that 3 out of the 4 students in the course have submitted that assignment. Again, we see the student name to the far right. When we click on that, that will allow us to navigate between the students. Underneath that, in the column on the right-hand side, we see when the student submitted the assignment, that submission was late. At the top here, we see that the due date was April 2nd. We also have links to the files that the students have submitted, and down below we see the students' comments. The most important part here is on the left-hand side, the main part of this screen, which is where the student's file submission will be displayed by Crocodoc. The nice thing about Crocodoc is that it gives us the ability to comment, draw, highlight, add text. So I can use this to make inline comments for my students. Let's put a little smiley face here. You can highlight the text by double-clicking on it. And then we can click on the View Rubric option here, and it will bring up the rubric that has been created for this assignment. If we scroll over to the left, we'll see our points here. And when we enter that, it manually calculates the grade for us. So when we've finished, we can click Save, and it will add up the points that we entered into that rubric and automatically populate our grades box with that number. We can go down here and add a comment to the student. And again, we can add a file attachment or a media comment if we wish. When we're finished, we can click Submit. It will add our comment below where the student posted their comment, and then we can use the option above to navigate to the next student whose work needs to be graded. When we close out that screen and go back to our Grade Center, again we'll have to refresh that page in order to be able to see the score that we've entered for that student. The next area that we're going to look at is files. Again, this area is grayed out so your students won't have access to it, but as a teacher in the course, you'll be able to click on that link. This displays a list of all of the files that have been loaded into the course. We can click the Upload button to upload a new file, and we can also create folders to organize our files. Once we've created a folder, then we can drag and drop the files from this menu into any of the folders that we have created. Note that this area is organized alphabetically, and folders do not automatically appear at the top as they do in a Windows Explorer window. but rather they also appear alphabetically alongside the course files. So we see our homepage buttons folder down here underneath group member assessment. The last thing that we're going to look at is settings, which appears at the bottom of our course navigation menu here. So we have to scroll down a little bit and click on settings. There are a number of different things that can be controlled from the settings. One thing that we can do is select a course image. While any color or nickname that we set for our course cards in our own dashboard is not displayed for students, any course image that is added here will be displayed on the course card for everyone who is enrolled in the course. So let's click on the Choose Image button here, and you can either drag and drop your image into the folder up here, or you can click on Browse Your Computer. You can also search for images on Flickr. So let's click on Browse Your Computer and select our image and click Open. And then our image will be displayed here. This will appear on the dashboard for everyone who's enrolled in the course, and it will be overlaid with whatever color that user has selected for that course card to display. There are a number of buttons that appear on the right side of the screen. Note that if you have a smaller screen size, this list of buttons may appear at the bottom of the screen instead of on the right-hand side. The second one is the Student View button. And when we click on that, it puts us into the course logged in under Student View. In this view, you can navigate through the course, you can submit assignments, you can test things out. So if a student calls you and tells you that some part of the course isn't working, you can go into Settings, go into Student View, and you can test whatever it is they're trying to do. When you're finished, you can either just leave the Student View, which will leave your activity intact, or I recommend doing Reset Student. That removes any assignment submissions you may have entered. And then let's click Leave Student View to get back to our course. And that takes us back to the home area. So let's click on Settings again to go back into that screen. Below the Student View is a Course Statistics button. We don't have a whole lot of course activity in this course, so it won't show us much, but it gives us information about running totals, our assignments, the number of assignments that we have, and the number of submissions that have been made. It gives us information about students who have recently logged into the course. And if we click on File Storage, we can see a summary of our file storage here again. The allotted storage for each course is 0.5 GB or 500 megabytes. We can see our uploaded files and the size of those files also. And then let's go back into our settings. From this course, we can export course content. So if I have my face-to-face course set up the way I like it, I can just click on Export Course Content. I can get a package, and then next semester I can go in and import that course, so I don't have to set up my course up again every semester. I can just reuse the content that I've already got. The option below that one is called Reset Course Content. This option erases all of the course content. Anything that you've put into that course, it will wipe it completely clean, and you'll have to start over from scratch. One important thing to know about resetting your course content is that it doesn't allow you to delete only particular parts of the course. It deletes everything, and that can't be changed, and it also can't be undone. So we recommend using this only in the worst of circumstances and when you have backup content that you can import back in to replace what you've deleted. You'll also see along the top here, Course Details is the tab that we come into by default, but we also have other tabs along the top here, and the one that we're going to look at is Navigation. This controls how our course menu appears. So we can see we've got Home, Home, Announcements, Announcements, Syllabus, Syllabus, Modules, Modules. So we can change the order of those if we want the syllabus to appear above announcements. We can change the way that is ordered. There's also a list of items below here. These are items that have been disabled that will not be visible to the students. If I want my students to be able to access discussions directly, I can click on that and I can drag it up here, and let's put it right below modules. And then when I drag that item into this section here, it automatically becomes available to my students. You can click on the gear icon here to enable or disable. You can also use that to move items around within that navigation area. When you've finished with that, scroll down to the bottom and click Save. And that will change the order that your course navigation bar displays, and as you can see here, our discussions link has become available so that the students can access that directly.